Hello YouTubers, this is the Noobifier. Based on the schedule for citizencon, we can figure out what sorts of things are going to be demonstrated. This year we have 2 stages, and apparently both will be live streamed on Twitch. 1 PM UTC on the 23rd of November 2019 is the start, and the show is said to be over at 21:30 on the same day. Let's begin. There seems to be a big push to focus on a new start by Chris Roberts. The title of the first panel is The Adventure Begins, which to me seems a little bit odd because most of us have been tracking development for 7 years. I'm expecting less focus on the development to date and a refocus to the future. 2018 and 2019 has been rough. It's been increasingly more difficult with a Forbes article, a lawsuit, and some other things that may have been handled differently. I'm going to make an assumption that if you're still watching my content, that you're over most of that, and you're ready to see what Star Citizen has in the pipes for next year. I have a detailed breakdown of the most recent state of the roadmap all the way to mid-year 2020. That's linked up for you right now. This year's show begins at 1 o'clock local Zulu time in the UK. The 30-minute opener isn't the keynote this year, which is probably saving most of the hype for the end. It's been suggested that we might see a third vertical slice. I don't believe that they would invest that much effort into that though. I could see them pushing another 30 or 60 second updated game trailer to promote it, but I think at this point the fewer leaks we have for Squadron 42 the better. If there's a new ship, we may see it at this time as well. Historically we saw the Polaris, the Pioneer, last year was the Valkyrie and the Kraken. CIG likes to push straight to flight if possible. They also tend to push smaller ship concepts at or below $100 mark just before the sale, so there are fresh LTI tokens in circulation. As soon as we have details on the sale, I'm going to post tips for fleet management, so click the bell for future updates. The developers working on Planet Tech have a panel, and I would expect to see further improvements on surface, texture, and of course caves. The tech is basically already photoreal, with only minor texture pop-ins. The original demo from 2015, followed up by 2016's citizencon, blew my mind, and it isn't any less impressive, it's just that I've become more accustomed to seeing it. On the second stage, at the same time, we have the lore and language dev team. Last year we had a similar panel that flat out created a functional alien language with all of the associated alphabet and lexicon. The subject is pretty lore and roleplay centric, and possibly not for everyone, but I really enjoyed seeing the detail and effort last year. 14:30 on the Anvil stage will be Technicalities. I'm sure that this is where we'll see an in-game engine render of Microtech, which is due just around the corner. At the same time, on the Crawshaw stage, there's a listing for ship sounds with the Foley team. Many of you might think that this is a minor detail, but in my experience, whenever these devs are on ATV or RTV, it's super cool to see how they work. I remember that they recently did a segment where they literally exploded chemicals in a lab to get sounds. I'm pretty sure it's not safe to do that on stage. However, a behind the scenes on what they're working on might be very interesting. 15:30 on the main Anvil stage, 29:49 Lore Masters panel with the lore team. Not much really to expand on this as it's fairly self-explanatory. At the same time, on the other stage, it's listed as Locked Up, a segment about the prison system. This is quite significant. The prison was a long-announced feature mentioned several times by Tony Z, the lead developer for the Persistent Universe. Currently, if you approach security with a wanted level, they'll just kill you. Tony envisioned a situation where you'd be abducted and somehow end up in prison. Although the sounds of living out a prison sentence in-game in real time doesn't really sound like fun, I do have faith that the team is going to strike a cool balance. This panel seems to have major implications for the law and bounty system, and I'll likely devote an entire video into breaking it down after the show. 16:30 on the Anvil stage is Shoot 'em Up, which is a demo of the new high-octane game mode. I haven't really looked very far into this. It's unclear to me if it's an FPS Star Marine or Arena Commander game, but it's fun not to have all the answers. It's good to have surprises, and I'm looking forward to this panel. At the same time, in the other auditorium is Me, Myself, and UI. The UI has been getting an overhaul for what seems like years. They have a couple spots on the roadmap for version 1 and version 2 for updates, plus the Annunciation panel. I hope that we see some desperately needed additions to the player HUD for both foot and ship. The player's due to have a contact lens-based HUD element that'll work without a helmet. And as I said in a previous video, the ship aiming marks, in particular, lack the level of detail that we've had in the past, specifically the target direction indicator and the PIP leader line. 17:30 is to be determined on the main stage, and a rundown of player armor on the Crawshaw stage. 1830 is ship talk, where no doubt we'll be hearing from the ship development team about what to expect in the near future. If there was any time to launch a new concept and then discuss it, it would make the most sense to have it at this time. 1900 on the Anvil stage, Tony Z has an hour-long panel. Of all the panels planned aside from perhaps the keynote, this is the one where we're going to get the most information on the state of the game. Tony Z could literally talk for the full 10 hours, and I wouldn't care. His segments are full of insight and are a fantastic opportunity. I'm sure that this segment is going to become its own video shortly after the show. And then the big one. 2000 hours is scheduled to be an hour-and-a-half long closing keynote. Speculations are all over the place. Some have thought that we're going to see a second solar system. Some are saying wormholes, a crazy new cap ship, who knows. Last year was very cool because we weren't shown future tech. We were shown the tech that was going to be released in the next couple months immediately after citizencon. One thing's for sure, the hype is real and it won't disappoint. So that's it, and thank you very much for watching. I'd ask you to post what you're most excited about and your predictions of what you think is going to be announced at the keynote. As I mentioned before, I've taken some time off work to focus fully on sifting through the information, triaging it, analyzing it, and then condensing it for you. Now would be a great time to share the channel link with a friend or subscribe if you haven't done so yourself. Fly safe, and I'll see you in the verse.